Hey everyone, it's Strangelove here, and it has been a hot minute since the last time I've talked to you guys, so I wanted to make this brief video to discuss my experiences going hands-on with Darksiders 3 at PAX West, and to sort of give you my impressions of the game based on the demo that I got to play. Now, PAX West itself was a ton of fun, and not only did I get to meet some of the insanely talented Darksiders cosplayers, I also got to chat and nerd out with one of the main Gunfire Games developers, Richard Verodi, who reportedly makes a killer bolognese, though the jury's still out on that one. Anyway, you guys, I tried to extract as much information as I could about the game, but Richard was pretty tight-lipped about the major details for the sake of keeping things a surprise, which is totally understandable, and I can appreciate that. However, I did get some awesome Darksiders Pinny arcade pins to give away, so I'll have to come up with a creative giveaway to give them out to some of you longtime Darksiders fans here on my channel. Alright, let's get right into this discussion. So, if you've been keeping up with the latest Darksiders 3 announcements, you probably have already seen the gameplay of the boss fight against Envy, which was the demo that I got to experience at PAX. I'm going to show the Envy gameplay in the background, but please note that this is not my gameplay, this is just the gameplay that was released a few weeks ago on IGN and some other sites. So if you haven't watched the demo, or are afraid of spoilers, I would say don't be, because the boss fight itself doesn't really show much besides a very limited scope of the fighting mechanics, and according to Richard, they haven't really shown us anything yet, and there's still so much more to look forward to in the game that these boss reveals aren't spoiling very much at all, so I'm gonna hold him to his word that that is the case, and that there's so much more in store that you can go ahead and just check out this boss fight and enjoy. Now with that being said, the demo of the Envy boss fight wasn't particularly complex, and that's likely because it's set up to simply give fans a taste of what the combat and gameplay mechanics feel like without really revealing any of the interesting puzzle mechanics or story, which are the main aspects of the game that I'm looking forward to the most. Now, the demo starts out with Fury standing in a small crater somewhere on post-apocalyptic Earth, and there's a handful of demonic enemies standing around between you and the boss room, of course, and you can choose to take them out to acquire souls, or you can just kind of run past them to go straight to the boss if you know where you're going. I chose to use this area as sort of a training grounds so that I could get used to the controls and commit some of the moves to my muscle memory as best as I could, at least during the demo, before attempting to take on Envy. And one of the first things that you learn in the demo is how to target a single enemy with the left trigger and cycle through them with the right stick. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this was that for the demo, you had to hold down the trigger to stay locked on the enemy. There wasn't really a way to toggle the targeting on and off, which is the targeting that I prefer to use in these kind of games. But I did ask Richard about that, and he said that in the final game there should be a way to toggle the targeting on and off, so there's no real worries there. Now, as far as Fury's basic attacks go, I thought that her whip felt pretty beefy in my opinion, and even though her ultimate attack and hollow form weren't available, her whip attacks still had some variability based on how you chose to approach the enemies, and on top of her regular whip swings, she can do this Sub-Zero-like chain pull that grabs enemies and pulls them toward her if you sort of chain your basic attacks correctly, so I thought that was pretty neat. Now, Fury is a very mobile character, she doesn't really have a way to block, so dodging is a huge part of Fury's combat skills, and a single swipe from a regular enemy was able to chunk my health down pretty significantly, and this was on normal mode, so you really have to get the hang of telegraphing your opponent's movements so that you can perform counterattacks like the arcane counter. This attack felt really powerful and satisfying, and it was easy enough to pull off if you got your timing right, which left me excited for some of the other special attacks that we could look forward to in the game. Alright you guys, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the basic combat because I think you guys get the idea, so let's move on to the Envy boss fight. Now, Envy appears as this twitchy, shaman-looking entity who wields a staff and has a bird-like face that many have compared to the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. Now, to me, Envy's attitude seemed a little more akin to greed than envy, and even though I know that the two sins have overlapping traits and that they would both covet items that may or may not belong to them, I felt like Envy would convey more of a jealous attitude, which I didn't really feel was as apparent in the demo. We haven't seen greed yet, though, so maybe, hopefully, the characters of the two sins will be a little more distinct once the game comes out.
They will be my playthings until they break. You cannot stop me!
So, as you would expect, the Envy boss fight consists of several stages and core features. Envy's melee attacks involve these broad sweeping swings that are low to the ground that you'll have to dodge to avoid getting hurt, and Envy will also fly up in the air and slam to the ground, unleashing this blue shockwave that you have to jump over. Finally, Envy will also do this sort of ranged attack that involves targeting the ground near Fury with this powerful blast that once again you must dodge to avoid. Now, once you've done enough damage, Envy will sort of wreck the floor and reveal a room lined with platforms that Fury will have to jump up to reach Envy on, and there's also these poles sticking out that Fury can use to whip swing across to the next platform. All the while, Envy is sort of floating in the air, gathering energy like a spirit bomb to let out this massive blast, which is unavoidable if you don't jump up on the platforms in time and reach Envy. So you'll definitely want to brush up on your platforming skills a little bit because that energy blast is no joke. So once you reach Envy hovering in the air at the top, all you have to do is jump off a platform and attack her in the air to sort of knock both of you down to the ground and repeat the process. It's worth mentioning that Fury's double jump actually lets you jump further out rather than higher, and the reason for this is because Fury will have some new traversal options with her through the hollow forms, such as the Flame Hollow, which lets you do a higher double jump. I'm fine with the regular double jump, but I know some people were sort of bringing this up as if it was an issue at the event, but I honestly think it's fine the way it is. So once you defeat Envy, Fury receives the Talisman of Sin, which basically acts like a Pokeball to capture the remains of Envy, but it also serves as sort of a compass that detects other sins and guides you towards their location. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I got my ass whooped by Envy several times playing the demo, and I was playing on normal. I know, sad, right? But even though I love the Darksiders games, I never said I was particularly good at combat. Nevertheless, I feel like Envy was the right amount of challenge and complexity for the first sin of the game, and I imagine that the other sins will only get more crazy from there on out. Overall, I felt that Fury's whip felt good and her movements were smooth, and like the previous Darksiders games, timing and precision are key for avoiding damage and executing your attacks properly, so keeping an eye on your opponent and telegraphing their moves is really important. Honestly, the most I can say is that it felt like a Darksiders game, and I'm not really sure how to quantify that, but I can say that it left me feeling even more excited for Darksiders 3 than I already was, so that has to be good for something. Now, I probably didn't say much here that you hardcore fans didn't already know, but I felt I should give you guys my thoughts regardless, so I appreciate you watching this video. I want to give a special thanks to my Patreon backers who help to support the channel as well, and like I said, I will try to come up with a giveaway for those Darksiders pins sometime very soon, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date. If you're one of the people who also got to try out the demo at PAX or at Gamescom, leave me a comment below and let me know what you think, because I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys at the next video.